once again to the Movie Stuff Show. My name's Dan, and this is Marty. And you had an airplane flying by or something?
I live in a very nice community. I will not lie about that at all, and it's not far from the Newark airport. And so every once in a while, we get a nice. You look out the window, you see something. It looks like it might be crashing into the neighborhood, or it's just landing. And so far, so good as far as nothing crashing. But it is something we've grown to deal with. Yes.
Hmm, hmm, hmm. Now, how many years did you live there? You previously lived in the
Yes, I
same
was here 5 years. I usually live places in 5 year intervals.
5-year intervals, but you bought this
Mhm.
house, so you're
This
kind of
is
stuck
this
for
is
30
locked
at
in for
least.
30,
And
but
you
I've
are
told
36. You
35.
turned 36
Don't
this
age
year.
me.
You
Don't age
you
me.
turned 36 this October, right?
Much later this year.
So 35 and a half.
But I told my wife and the real estate agent, you cannot make me live all 30 of these years. So
You know, it's a fair point.
it's,
Fair point.
that was the thing when you sign all these mortgage documents. They actually give you a two-sided piece of paper that lists every payment you make for the next. I guess for us it'll be till whatever it is, 20, whatever 30 years from now, 2068.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's horrible math.
I'm just going to
40,
agree with you.
2048, 2048.
I'm just going to keep agreeing with
And
you.
you just
Sure,
look at it, it's like, holy shit! I already know what I have to do on April, 1st of 2048. That's nice. It's nice to have a plan. And then you think, will there be a country at that point? Will there be grant? Will there be land? Who knows? But I know one thing. I owe this guy money on that day.
Yeah. It's fun. And I'm sure you've paid off a couple of cars before, right?
Yes, yes,
Like,
yes.
you've bought cars. I'm hitting the home stretch of paying off my car. Well, my wife's car, right? So we're very close. I think we've got like 4 or 5 more payments left on it. And it's a good feeling of like, hey, we own this thing now. Because when you say that you're a homeowner, it's
You're
kind of
really not.
fraudulent. No,
Yeah,
you're really not a homeowner.
you're a fancy renter.
Yes, you are renting from a bank,
Yes.
and at the end of it, if you're lucky, there's not like a housing market crash or anything. If you're lucky, you might walk away with this property. And the problem is you're a renter, but you're responsible for everything.
Responsible for everything. Yeah,
Shit goes
and
wrong. Like you can't go to the bank and say, "Hey, where's my roof?"
yeah, water. You got to pay for that shit now. You
Yeah,
gotta. It's all a big scam.
yeah, yeah.
But you got a backyard. You can barbecue. You feel good about yourself every
Right,
once in a while.
right. Yeah, I think you skip a show a week and then just people just don't show up. It's like no one in the chat, no one watching. Is there anyone watching? I don't even know
We
if
got
anyone's watching.
5,
It says
including.
5. It says 5 right now. I'm not watching.
Oh, so you're.
I'm not watching. You're
Dan,
watching.
Dan won't watch this shit. So
Listen. I'm trying to run the show.
yeah,
I'm trying.
I'm
I
watching.
don't want to disturb the internet.
I'm watching. My wife has it on the phone, and maybe she's while she goes through other Instagram posts. I'm assuming your wife is watching just to make sure we can be heard.
Maybe Robert Melee is watching.
Robert
I
Melee
think
would
from his phone.
there he is. Robert Melee is
Yes.
always
It's like
here,
I'm here. Shut up.
and maybe
Okay.
my
Wait a
cousin
minute.
Chris is watching.
I'm here. Shut up. We can't do much of a show if we shut up. There's. It's kind of.
It could work though.
It
You
could
never know.
work. Next week on the Movies and Stuff show, the silent movie.
We are looking for a new gimmick. That might be it.
You never know. Like my wife's like, it's on. She's not watching, but it's
But
on.
no, it's
Um,
there.
I actually thought of having a series of silent movie reviews that were silent, right? Was it reviewing old silent films, and the reviews themselves are silent with the old like kind of music.
It might be worth looking at one time, just to
Mm.
because that's. I don't think I've ever really watched a whole silent movie.
Which is sad because I think they're only like what 5 minutes long.
Yeah, so we'd
I
have to
don't think
watch a
there's
bunch
many
of them.
silent films that are
I have to figure out where to actually watch such a thing.
yeah.
I'm sure the up conversion for the HD TVs is spectacular.
Oh yeah, right. Charlie Chaplin's mustache really, each bristle kind of looks amazing. Okay, so we're going to talk solo this week, or should I say that you're going to talk solo this week? Um, So what had happened was we were going to talk about it last week.
Hmm. Oh my
Um,
God, Abe is here to dance on our graves.
oh
Actually,
my God. How'd you know, Abe? How'd you know that this was gin?
well,
Who told you?
we know you're not drinking fancy
Who
wine
told you?
with the ice.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, good gin. Um, so I was going to go see Solo. I bought a ticket. I'm going to pull it up on my phone just to prove that I did have a ticket. Because I don't know if Marty believes me. But
No, I understood it once you said it.
kids, man. Kids happen. And let's see. Okay. There it is. You probably can't even see it. But trust me, that was my ticket. Look at my purchases. Right? You still can't see it. This is terrible. This is a terrible gimmick. You
I
can
could
kind of
see it
see
there
it, right?
when you
You
turn
can
it sideways because the
kind of see
glare.
it.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
you
All right. So there you go. And yeah. So I didn't go. I didn't get a chance to see it. Um,
Oh, let me
that's
pose
it,
another
right?
question as far as because I remember you text me and you said you couldn't go because the kids, and then it was too late to return it.
Yeah.
I've been
Okay.
in situations where, and tell me if this is more of an ethical thing. You sometimes you go to a theater late or early and they don't really even check you.
Mhm.
So is it ethical or it's not ethical, of course, but is it okay if they don't check it to then once you're in your seat, go to the return process on the app?
I don't think you. Well, wait a minute. Let me think.
You can
So
return it up until the
up
movie
until the movie
starts.
starts,
So if you say 10 minutes early or
I
whatever
think
it
once they
is.
scan it, though, I
But
think.
I'm saying sometimes you go early and they don't even bother scanning you.
Oh,
When it's
well, ethically no, but I mean, it's. Listen, sometimes you're on a train and they don't take your train ticket.
true.
So what do you do?
You
Do you
can
just
always
leave the
risk it
train ticket? Do
and
you
see
leave
what
the train
happens.
ticket there, or do you say I'm gonna use this train ticket another day? They didn't take it. Again, ethics and morals, and in theory, it is stealing, but
It is,
they
yeah.
didn't do their jobs,
But it always worries me
isn't
now
it?
with the reserve seating
Yeah, well, yeah.
that say, all right, well, if you don't have proof now that this is your seat anymore and someone else just comes in, that's always a scary thing.
That's a funny thing, Abe. In Texas, I do believe you can return your kids, but something abortion. I'm not going to get into it.
I just figure a way to aid the colon at this point because I mean, this is gonna.
Yeah, Abe apparently has the internet to chat with us, but he does not have the internet bandwidth to actually do a live video stream with us. It wasn't Abe, but someone close to Abe named Arch Stanton put out a new gambling video. So check
Abe
that out.
Abe left the country right when gambling got
I,
illegal.
you know,
I mean, legal rather. I'm
illegal.
sorry.
Yeah. Abe's missing out. But listen, I told him that I'll be his proxy. Listen,
Sure.
I can play some bets for him.
Well, you need the username and password, and you get it right in there,
That's right. You know.
and a loving trust that you won't run it up on him.
Well, no, I wouldn't. I'd bet on behalf of him. I wouldn't. I wouldn't actually have an account. Like listen, I'm terrible at gambling.
That's true.
I don't gamble.
Oh.
I don't gamble because I'm terrible at it. I was telling Aaron, I was like, I've bet on one sporting event, like ever, one, and that was that damn Super Bowl where Seattle. I bet on Seattle to beat New England,
I think I also had Seattle.
and
No, I bet.
Pete Carroll was like, Dan, fuck you.
I mean, I do a lot of horse betting and stuff like that,
Yeah,
as you can tell from my wedding photos. But the only time I do like fantasy sports is
fantasy
technically
sports is
gambling, but
technically
it's not
gambling. Yeah,
really.
yeah.
As far as actually putting bets in, I did one of my few bets I put in for Super Bowl was the Denver versus Seattle.
Hmm.
So Denver again, that's
You
when they
took
lost.
Denver.
Like I did Denver that game. It was 49-8, some shit like that. I was like, I didn't have any good numbers in the boxes and shit. It's like I may throw 100 on Denver just to make it fun. It was over within like 10 minutes. Like, oh shit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have it in me to gamble. Like it's not in my nature to be a gambler. Like I like money. Like I'm risk
Very,
averse,
yeah.
and sometimes I do like I'll look at the spreads and I'll talk to Abe and I'll be like, oh, I'll put like 100 fake dollars on this, and every single time like I have a good feeling about something. It's like I think this is gonna happen. Every single time I'm wrong, so I try to pull the Costanza on myself. Right, I try to
Go
say it's like
the
my
opposite.
gut says this, so let's go the opposite, and I'm still wrong. So I mean,
Well,
um,
Abe does. From what I remember, Abe fucking does basketball betting,
listen,
which is just
listen.
legitimately. You might as well just do cocaine as
Abe
far as
Abe is
nerves.
Abe is great at. I mean, baseball betting. He's probably his most reliable. Like he's got a good system for baseball betting. By system, I mean understanding of
Yeah.
spreads and money lines and teams and all that stuff. But he's done some pretty good stuff on basketball. But
I
basketball's
mean, look,
great. You can't do, basketball over the last I'd say 3 or 4 seasons. You can't bet. I it's impossible. Listen, I saw the Celtics this season come back from what 10 20 point games and
yeah.
probably blow about 10 20 point leads.
I mean, you look at game one of the finals. It was, I think, Golden State was a 12-point favorite.
Mhm.
Technically, probably should have lost in regulation, if not, win or lose by 1 point. So that's a winner. It goes overtime. It becomes suddenly a 10-point, almost 12-point game, and you almost lose money because they call a flagrant foul at the last second, and
Mhm.
Golden
Mhm.
State gets 2 free throws. So that's,
Mhm.
that's what it's like betting basketball. Someone chucks a half-court shot as the buzzer goes off, and if it goes in, you just lost your house.
Yeah, the first game was.
Mm. Oh, it's just, I mean, it's just,
I was texting with you and Mike as it's going
yeah.
on, and just like
It's
it was
it was hilarious. It was a great game, and it just became
and
hilarious.
I can't say that like I can root for LeBron being a Celtics fan, right? And knowing the history of LeBron James and the Celtics, but I do I root for the guy. I think he's a hell of a basketball player, and if the Celtics aren't in it, I want to see him win, especially when on the other side of the court is Golden State Warriors. Right? I can't root for the Warriors. Stephen Curry is probably my
I like.
least.
I still like him. I don't know
I
why.
don't.
Everyone
He's
says they hate him now. You,
I
Nick,
no.
hates
I
him.
hate him now. I've
Mm,
never
I
liked
just,
Stephen
I
Curry.
enjoy him. I don't know why. I
I
think
don't like him. Green needs to
yeah.
be punched in the nuts.
That got Barkley a lot of traction when he said he wanted to punch him for his show. Maybe that'll help us. I'll tag that out and see if you threatening to punch Draymond
Please
gets us some
don't. Please.
discussions.
Honestly, just don't. No, I mean, no.
We'll get talked about on first take tomorrow or something.
I didn't say I wanted to punch him in the nuts, did
No,
I?
someone should.
I said someone should punch him in the nuts. Not me. Draymond Green. Not me. Dude's one punch just shattered my entire face. Seriously. The guy looks
It's
like he's got giant like mitts, like because
yeah.
he's punched a lot of people in the nuts before.
He does the
He
kicking.
does the kick. Oh,
Remember, he
he's the
does.
kicker.
He
Yeah,
was the one guy who,
yeah,
for one during a stretch, would shoot and somehow just kick his leg out,
yeah.
randomly and right into your crotch region, which was
Speaking of crotch region, Roseanne got canceled.
hilarious thing as it ties into us is that it happened Tuesday after Memorial Day, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So apparently, our friend Jamil went on this big Roseanne binge on Monday and wakes up on Tuesday morning and tweets out, or Facebook, I think it was, how much he loved the show and he didn't care about everything that happened. And then, like an hour later, this whole Roseanne shit breaks on Twitter,
timely.
and it was
Yeah.
canceled within what
Facebook
2 or 3 hours.
Yeah. Listen. Okay. I mean, my political beliefs I've never shied away from on the show, right?
No,
So take this with a grain of salt, people. But the fact that Roseanne is being revered and celebrated and saying, oh, she shouldn't have lost her job, freedom of speech, yada, yada. Samantha Bee's getting shit for what she said, right? The NFL, well, apparently the Philadelphia Eagles are not invited to the White House. Frankly, listen, hey, I
They're
wouldn't
not
want to
paid.
invite.
They're not.
I wouldn't invite anyone
No.
from Philly to the White House either. If I, but
Or just
for
your
the
house.
from my house, but for the reasons that the Eagles are not being invited, and this whole thing about how sacred the national anthem is and how uh, it celebrates men of the military and women of the military and how it's patriotic and yada yada yada. Can we just remember that it was Roseanne Barr who sang the national anthem horribly and spit and grabbed her crotch and made a mockery of this national anthem? Can we just remember that, please?
But what's hilarious about that is that she did get shit at the time for that
Mm-hmm.
from the same people who are now on her side.
Yep.
And we, not we because we were whatever how old when it happened, but the liberals were the one defending her, saying, "Oh, calm down. Who cares? It's it's Roseanne. It's a joke. What do you care? What the hell she does?" And everyone agreed it was stupid, but no one thought she should be arrested or thrown out of the country for it.
And that's my feeling on it as well, right? Like it was dumb. I don't see the big deal of her doing it. She was a comedian. It was dumb, right? I didn't make a big deal of it then. I don't make a big deal of it now. I'm just talking about the double standards of how
It's all
everything is just it fits into this nice little
Yep.
fucking box, this mold that you have of what your worldview is, and I'm guilty of it. I get that. Yeah, I get that. Sometimes you get the blinders on, and and having kids, you start to really want to guard yourself from negative worldviews or people that you have dictated to have a negative worldview, right? Like, I mean, there's just people I don't want my kids to be around because they say racist stuff. I, personally don't want my kids exposed to that, and so I could be a responsible person and try to engage, right, and try to change someone and try to keep people with a different worldview than mine around me, so I'm not in this little bubble, this bubble wrap of liberals, right? Yeah, I could try to keep these negative people around me to try to convince them otherwise and try to make the world a better place. Or I can protect my fucking kids from some of that leakage, from that negativity and that horribleness leaking onto my kids. And that's what I choose to do. And I applaud the people that can be on Facebook and have all these friends that they just disagree with, and they allow this debate to happen on their Facebook pages. I applaud those people. I'm not one of them. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I would rather just I just cut them off, right? I just cut them off. And so I get it. I'm guilty of being enclosed in my little liberal bubble, but it is what it is, man. And I think that's the case of what's going on with Roseanne right now. Is if Roseanne came out tomorrow and started saying, actually, you know what, Trump sucks. Look how fast those people would turn on her.
Oh yeah, like, oh, we got her back on our side. It's like whatever.
And then the liberals would be like, oh yeah, she's back. Yeah.
And then again, it's not like it's people think free speech is yes, you get to say whatever she wants, and Roseanne is not in jail right now. But when you work for Disney and you're a small fucking spoke on the wheel there, yeah, she had the #1 TV show for 10 weeks. You know what that means to Disney? Nothing really. If it's gonna mean it's fun, it's nice, they like to have the ratings or whatever. But if it's gonna cost them any kind of bullshit, then Bob Iger's just gonna say whatever, cancel it. Who cares? Same thing with ESPN people sometimes mouth off, and it's like, yeah, you're big on ESPN. That means nothing to these corporations.
Right.
Get off the air. We don't care. It's just you have to decide. If you're gonna work, you have to make sacrifices. If you're going to be on ESPN, if you're going to work for Disney, if you're going to work for Fox or whatever, you can't just mouth off whatever you want. And yes, there are some double standards where people who are saying things about Trump are getting passes that the other side probably wouldn't have got it for making fun of Obama, 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. But there are, we have to realize there's not the same rules anymore. You can't just call. I know, yeah. And it wasn't even. You could say a joke whenever. It wasn't a joke to call Valerie Jarrett a Muslim Brotherhood
Planet of
Married with
the
a
Apes.
Monkey.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
just the fact that the Muslim Brotherhood thing was a fucking dig,
Mm-hmm.
and she had gone 10 minutes earlier talking about uh, Chelsea Clinton for 10 minutes for no goddamn reason. It's like this is who she was, and ABC decided to go with her for whatever reason, and it worked to an extent. They got it, Trump was a huge fan. It got ratings, and we talked about it. I think when it first came out, I watched the first 2 episodes. It was sitcom, laugh track nonsense. It wasn't anything fucking groundbreaking. It was fine, but you're not to cancel a show in a day. No one cares. It's not. No one's taking those risks anymore for fucking the sake of art or whatever. Especially not for a, I'm surprised. I'm actually. We're talking about Star Wars in a little while here. I'm surprised Mark Hamill gets away with the crap he gets away with on Twitter, because he calls the president a piece of garbage every day, and never seems to face much backlash. I don't mean he's Luke Skywalker, so I understand that, but it's no one.
And the fact is that he's not thrown in jail for saying it. And
No.
that again is what freedom of speech is. So whenever anybody says that person shouldn't have been fired, freedom of speech is like, listen, I have an employer, and my employer has a certain reputation for her business, right? If I go out and I start spouting off this craziness that impacts the image of the company, right, of the entire company, she has every right to fire me. And I have every right to say, okay, well, I said what I said because freedom of speech, but I don't have every right to say you can't fire me because I said what I said. And that's it's freedom of speech from imprisonment. It's not freedom of speech of repercussions of what you say. And it's funny that the people that are spouting off freedom of speech tend to be racists.
It's funny how that works out. Yeah.
And listen, I get it. Like the ACLU has to have to defend some of those people, right? Because if they were being persecuted and arrested for saying they're racist nonsense garbage, it's not right. But per the letter of the law, they have the freedom to say it. So yeah, you guys have the freedom to say it. But you know what? If you lose your job for it, ACLU is not going to back you. If you get arrested, like yes, they'll be there for you. So yeah, I thought that was funny that Jamil was going on and on about how he liked the Roseanne show, and it was same day or next day. It was just okay, you got some Star Wars talk, all right? You want to talk some Solo?
Yeah, we'll start with the news of the news of the day stuff. Then we'll
do you want to do news of the day and then go into Solo?
news of the day as opposed to Solo being
Solo.
talking about its box office and such. Of course, it did not do well. That's no surprise, and it's one of the reasons you can speak to personally. It's right now it did number one Memorial Day weekend, but it was only 103 million.
It got my money though, Marty.
Yeah, it did get your money.
It got my money.
You did help.
I helped.
So it made 103 the first weekend. Projections were 130, 150. Massive drop the next weekend to only, I think it made just under 30 this weekend. So now it sits at 151 going into a third week, and it's not getting much internationally, so it might not. So it's likely to be the first Solo movie, Star Wars movie, to not make money, which is not not ideal, but I think it's not the major problem that some might report it to do for a couple of reasons. One being, it's only going to lose money because they fucked up. This movie cost $250 million reportedly, and that's because they shot it twice.
Yeah, pretty much. They made two movies.
If you shoot it the first time for 150 or less, it's fine. It's not a huge moneymaker that some of the other Star Wars movies are. Right now, it's only made half of what Rogue One made at this point, which it's startling, I must say. But it wouldn't be a huge loss if it had just cost what a normal movie like this on this scale could cost to make.
Question: Not that there was much discussion about it. If Chris Pratt's the lead, is this a huge movie?
I think it would still run into the same problems with the hardcore fans because it would have to be in a world in which Chris Pratt was not also Star-Lord, I must say. If he was...
Because he's pretty much the same character.
Yeah. It'd be hard for... I don't think you can do both. People would be annoyed with that. So I don't think no. If they did a better job not hiding Alden Wright the entire promotional, time, I think it would have been because he wasn't a problem. He wasn't a problem in this movie. That was the fear going in, that he was so bad that it was going to be laughable on screen.
Ace Ventura levels.
Yeah, they
Right.
talked about how he needed acting coaches, this and that. He was fine. I mean, he wasn't, the greatest actor in the world, but he was fine. He did Solo respectably. So if they had just put him out there more and sold this movie better, I don't think it would have been a little better. Second issue, I think we talked the timing in regards to Last Jedi. I didn't think would be a problem, but I guess it was for some people. I don't think
Too close. Right.
too close, in that you saw here, me and Jamil were arguing about Last Jedi 3 weeks ago, and so we're still living in a world where we weren't. This is only what, 4 years, 5 years Star Wars has been coming out now.
Mm-hmm.
We were still not far from a world in which we thought Revenge of the Sith was the last Star Wars movie we're ever going to get. So now we're still not used to the idea that now Star Wars movies are coming out at a Marvel-like pace.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not as bad as Marvel.
Yeah,
not as bad, but even the idea that they're...
Annually. You're going to have an annual Star Wars movie.
Yeah, annual. We were getting used to annual,
Mm-hmm.
and now it looked like it was almost, twice a year, semi-annual. It was like, that might have been too much. And the idea that this, the fourth one that came out in this new Disney thing, I went to see it first night, of course, but there was not the, it didn't feel special this time around. This is the first time where you went to the theater. It was sold out. It was packed, but there was no kind of buzz going.
Mm-hmm.
There was no people in costume that you'd see at a lot of these things. The first time where the Lucasfilm logo and once upon, long time ago, Galaxy Far, Far Away. The first time it happened where there wasn't any kind of applause or excitement. It was fine. It was, people were there to see it. They were happy, but there was not the, it felt less special. And it might be something we're going to have to just get used to that with Star Wars, because they're going ahead with these movies. So it's going to have to change. And we're just going to have to change our expectation for a Star Wars movie, really. Not everything can make $1 billion. It's just,
No. But again, they shouldn't lose money. The fact that a Star Wars movie is going to lose money, it's not going to be the death knell for the Star Wars franchise and people that are talking about that. That's just ridiculous. But the fact that a Star Wars movie is going to lose money is ridiculous. It's crazy. This isn't Star Trek, right? I mean,
yeah, Star Trek. I think
Star Trek. We kind of got used to the fact like Star Trek movie is probably going to lose money. Star Wars. It's supposed to be the untouchable franchise, even with what Lucas did with those prequels, right?
Yeah, none of those lost money.
No.
I think this will wind up making the least money. They said it was close to making Clone Wars money, but I don't think it will, because I don't think this thing has much more legs to it either. And that was another problem too. I'll bring up, in that we talked about this for a while. Avengers was a month ago. 2-week break, Deadpool, and then boom, Star Wars. It was just,
it's too much.
Too much. And I didn't even have the excitement to go out to the theater really for this, because we just seen 2 in a row. Mm-hmm. And the other Star Wars movies we talked about that made all the money did not have any kind of competition.
Right.
This the weekend Solo came out, Deadpool still made $40 million, and Avengers still made 20. So you're talking about $60 million. Even if half of that goes to see Solo, you're looking at a more respectable $130 million opening. So the idea that they thought they could just jam all these movies together, and it's half the same studio, so it's not like they have it's not like they don't have control over this. Mm-hmm. They could have separated some of this out. It's so the idea that we had talked about, it was going to be annoying to go 3 weeks in a row, because these movies, it's not fucking. This is supposed to be a friendly, family friendly thing. So to go to movies 3 straight weeks, essentially, you're spending, $150.
Yeah, Jamil was saying, listen, he spends, over $100 for when he brings his wife and his kid to the movies and all that stuff. And to do that 3 times in a month, who has who really has the ability to do that? And if you're telling me that, okay, so most kids aren't going to go see Deadpool, right? So I'd say that Deadpool wasn't a huge competition with Solo, but there's crossover. There's crossover between Deadpool, people that saw Deadpool, but not the kids, right? But if you're telling the kids, you have the chance this month to either see Avengers or Solo.
Yeah, and this Solo movie that we're still really not sure what it is. They didn't do a great job explaining it, to be honest. And even with the diehards, we talked about this for a while. No one was really looking for this movie.
Yeah, and the fact that the character's dead. right? I mean,
Yeah.
the older version is dead. I think that to me, like, listen, I don't make movies for a living. I barely talk about them enough, or see them. Um, but to me, like, if this was kind of tied into the greater Star Wars and woven into the Star Wars universe better, right? Like, I think I feel some of these like prequels or some of these like standalone movies, um, the fact that they're standalone might be part of the problem. Like, I've seen cuts, like small cuts of how like the prequels get woven into the original trilogy.
Mhm.
I was like, man, that's some good stuff. Like I've seen. Have you seen the scene where Luke is talking to Obi-Wan, and it's like, how did my father die? And it's intercut, and
Yeah.
there's like pauses where he's kind of reflecting, and it's intercut with the Revenge of the Sith,
Yeah.
with the scene in the like, you know, frankly, I was like, man, that's good. That's good stuff, right? And not to say that you're going to mess with the originals, but you now have carte blanche to do whatever the fuck you want with these older characters now and younger. You could easily kind of like woven this in better to what's going on and made parallels into what's going on in the current franchise, and maybe part of this movie is focusing in on young Solo, and maybe it's you take the risk and have it progress into post, uh, the post where you see more of Ben with uh,
Kylo.
Kylo, right? I mean,
Yeah.
maybe that's how you do the movie. You take the risk, and to do a straight up prequel, and to focus in just on this, to me, is kind of bland and kind of unnecessary, and really people didn't seem too into it, you know.
No. And then but that's why I would say it's not the huge flop disaster that say, Justice League was, where Justice League didn't make the money and people also hated it. Other than Stefan, who, God bless him. I haven't seen much hatred for this movie. There's more hatred for Last Jedi, and that was for a whole different other reasons. This movie is just, like I said, I came out of it and I was like, oh, that was fun. It
Better than
was
Rogue One.
yes and no in that I came out of Rogue One, and you can check out our review of that. We didn't like that much either.
Hashtag synergy.
And Rogue One I had problems with for different reasons because I thought Rogue One affected what we knew. I thought Rogue One altered things in the original that
Right.
didn't. Then, Star Wars was a story. Rogue One is an explanation of that story. If the explanation doesn't make sense, then that's a problem. I can buy a story. You can tell me a story. I'll buy into it. But if you're gonna then show me the explanation of it and it doesn't make sense, that's a problem. And I thought that was around Rogue One. They just did things that didn't vibe right with the the movie that starts literally 5 minutes after the Rogue One. So that was my problem with Rogue One. Probably a better acted movie, or generally like that. But as far as Star Wars wise, I had more problems with Rogue One. This one doesn't really affect anything. They explain, like, you didn't see the movie, but what
Go
are the
into
three
it.
or
Listen, I
what are
don't
the
care
three or
about
four
spoilers though.
things? No,
I
yeah, what are
really
the
don't.
there's that's the thing too. There's really nothing to spoil in this movie. What would you expect the three or four things that we get out of this movie?
Kessel Run.
Kessel Run, we got the Kessel Run.
How he meets Chewbacca.
Got that?
How he wins the Millennium Falcon from Lando.
Got that?
Um, how he becomes entwined with Jabba the Hutt.
They teased that into a sequel that we probably won't get.
Okay.
So you got those four things, and those are four nice stories, but those are stories we didn't need told.
Because we knew them. Right.
We knew them essentially, and the explanations we got, we got the Kessel Run, I will say, was underwhelming. Like, what do you think the Kessel Run was?
I have no fucking idea what the Kessel Run is. To me, it's maybe getting from port A to port B through some kind of obstacles, right? It's as maybe it's a meteor shower or fucking something where you just have to you have to. Here's a spaceport to get to this spaceport, and I don't know.
I always kind of assumed it was a thing where everyone was there to watch or some kind of,
Like a
everything
pod race type thing.
not even a race, but something that people knew about and saw.
Hmm.
It turns out it's like it happened, and I was like, oh, that was a Kessel run. Okay, and they're getting out of this place, Kessel area, and they have to, get through this, like you said, something like, kind of a hole, wormhole, kind of a whatever nonsense. In this 12, you have to do it in 12 seconds or you're gonna die. And the thing is, no one can do it in under 20 parsecs, whatever. And so, I'll do it, and they do it, and then it's like they get to where they're going, and someone says, "I heard you just get to the Kessel run in 12 point something." It's like, no, he tells someone they did the Kessel run in 12 seconds, and then Chewie, barks at him. And he's like, well, no, you're round down. So clearly he did it in 12. And it was some funny moments like that. He did the Kessel Run probably like 12.4 seconds or something, or parts. And so you just know it was not just him and alone. Of course, there was 4 or 5 other people on the Falcon when he did it.
Hmm.
And it's just him telling people. It's not so much that it was this big thing where everyone saw or watched. But it was like, that was fine. But it's like, oh, is that, to build, you're building movie around these 4 or 5 moments. And it's like, oh, okay, that was a little underwhelming.
Hmm.
The Chewie thing, he meets Chewie. We find out he meets Chewie in a war camp, kind of a prisoner of war thing. Because we find out in the movie it starts where it's Solo. Oh, that's another thing. That's not his real name apparently. Han has to joins up with the Empire because that's essentially what you did back then to
Hmm.
get out of whatever scenario you were in. So when he's just kind of, he eventually gets kicked out for being mouthing off or whatever. You've seen the trailers like, oh, I got kicked out for having a mouth on my own.
I don't see him getting kicked out. Like honestly, is it like do you get kicked out of the Nazis?
No, I
Did
mean,
did
like I
did
said,
the
yeah,
Nazis kick people out? I don't think so. It's like the Empire. The Empire kicking people out. It's like Finn is bad. Like, let's just let him leave. No, every time they get a chance, they're trying to kill Finn for
yeah.
abandoning the Empire. So for Han
So,
to
yeah.
get kicked out of the
He wasn't. I
Empire,
mean,
like,
he
I
got
mean,
kicked
come
out
on.
of the flying program. He got kicked out of the pilot program. They said, and then he was just kind of
He should
a.
have been a janitor.
Yeah, they showed him on. They had some cool war scenes and some mud trooper stuff. You heard about in books we never saw. So that was fun. They had some fun things with the canon in this. I'm not gonna lie, but again, it was just either it was over your head if you didn't know too much about what was going
Hmm.
on, backstory, or it was just, oh, that's fun. That's Star Wars. So that shouldn't be what Star Wars is, to me. But so yeah, he meets Chewie, and they almost kind of like Return of the Jedi style, where Luke gets thrown into the pit, and he has to
The
fight off that
Sarlacc
fuck.
pit.
Yeah, he has to fight that thing. That's kind of they
Not the
played off
Sarlacc
that.
pit. No, that's not the
No,
Sarlacc
yeah,
pit.
the thing before where he gets thrown
Yeah,
into the
yeah,
dungeon
yeah,
and fights
yeah.
off that
Mm,
thing. So they throw Solo into this prison thing, and he has to fight off Chewie. And you see Chewie coming out of it, he's all wet and weird looking. It's funny. So Chewie was great. That was really funny. They showed Han speaking to him.
in
That's how
Wookiee.
they kind of yeah. That's how they kind of bonded. Like Chewie is screaming at him, beating the shit out of him, and Han can talk back to him in his own language, which just sounded odd. But it was, whatever. So there's shit like that happens, which again is fun. But again, the theme of this movie is that it was fun, but not necessary. And so yeah, we get that scene. We get Donald Glover, great as Lando. Nick and Jamil had their reservations. Nick wasn't completely in love with him, but he was fine. I talked to him about it. We haven't seen. I don't know if Jamil's seen it yet. He hasn't posted anything about it. And the whole debate we had last time about what was it, the pansexual thing?
Hmm. Hmm.
It's not really. I mean, they kind of insinuate that there's a love between Lando and the droid he has, but it wasn't anything fucking weird. It was just whatever. It was just kind of a joke more than anything. So yeah, he wasn't played off as any kind of pansexual weird character. He was just Lando, and it was he had the voice down, he had the kind of the rhythm down to him. I really enjoyed it. So we got that. We got how he gets the funny thing. You see the trailers. People were saying, "Oh, the Falcon looks too good. It's too neat." Lando kept it pristine, perfect, and then so Han had it for 10 minutes and it was wrecked to shit. That was the kind of joke of that. So that was fun. But the movie itself,
So the
as
card
far
game
as
does Han cheat?
no, no, no,
He
no,
actually wins. He actually wins straight up in the card game, or
there was 2 card games. The first card game, Han challenges Lando to try and win the Falcon, and he notices that uh, he, that Lando cheats. So that's how he beat him the first time. So that when he challenges him the second time at the end of the movie, he knows how he's cheating, so he stops him from cheating, and then he beats him that way.
Hmm.
So I don't know if that's what they're going to go with as far as we meet them in Empire Strikes Back, where he says, that hey, you got a lot of nerve showing up here after that. I think there has to be something else in between then and there because it wasn't like this dastardly thing that he did to him. He just kind of, turned, pulled the switch on him. That was all it was. So I think there's a lot that they did in this movie that would set up that I walked out of this movie thinking I would like to see more movies in this world, but they'd have to be pretty slick with it to work it out. And I have some ideas for it, but I doubt they'll use them. I mean, they don't answer my calls. But so we get all those scenes that you expect. The problem with the movie is we meet like a bunch of people along the way in the movie, and they die rather quickly.
Khaleesi?
She's good.
Yeah.
She's not horrible. I've seen some people who
Woody Harrelson? Yeah.
Woody Harrelson's Woody. He's fine. But like we meet Woody and his crew. That's where Solo gets introduced to them, and like the crew is pretty cool. There's some kind of creature that's driving the ship that they're on, and Woody has a wife, girlfriend type character, but like they die within 10, 15 minutes, and like they're treated on screen as if they're these emotional big moments, but like I don't know them yet. Why do I care that they're I don't care they're dead. They just were introduced 10 minutes
I
ago.
don't care that they're dead. Hashtag Marty doesn't care that they're dead.
It was fine with all like I understand that they care, but I don't I'm not going to care right now. As in, like all these Star Wars movies they've had so far, there was a weird fucking creature thing that was pointless. We first see Han on a planet where this kind of mob rule kind of thing, and the person in charge is gigantic woman, not even woman, female, fucking insect looking alien thing. And it's just gross. It's like the same thing as the Boy Gullet thing from Rogue One, or the fucking Ratars from Force Awakens. They're just big, gross, fucking looking things that were on screen for 10 minutes for no real reason. So I don't know why they enjoy doing that to us. But and then when he goes to join when he has to escape his area and join the Imperials, that's how he gets the name Solo, because they ask her who his people are, because I guess that's how you asked last name back then. He's like, oh, I've always been on my own. And the guy filling out the forms like, you're Solo act, or whatever the fuck it was. Oh, you're Solo. So that's how he's Han Solo. Again, no one needed that. His name, we just assumed his name was Han Solo. Why is this, why would you have to then fucking segue that thing?
It's like fucking going to Ellis Island.
That's essentially what it was.
And you end up with Corleone.
Yeah.
Instead you're Solo. Right.
Like, I'd never thought that his name wasn't just Han Solo. I don't think they ever alluded to that his name wasn't Han Solo.
There's never been any... That stuff irks me, though, man. That stuff irks me, where it's just like, there's no reason to be cute about this. There really isn't. There's been no illusion. It's not like, he's introduced in the original Star Wars movie as Han Solo, and, Obi-Wan's like, that's not your real name,
Yeah.
It's like, I know who you really are.
But again, like the
You're
interaction
Hans Schwartzman.
And then, I mean, we never
Hans
really
Wollman.
Nice. That'd have been better. So again, the interplay between him and Chewie is great. It's like a crime. It's a chase crime movie at its heart. It's nothing we haven't seen before. The one big spoiler thing that if again, it's the only thing that's really, other than the people dying, that you don't care about. That's a spoilers-ish thing, but there's no it was not like a Star Wars, the Star Wars movies would come to know. It's like, if you don't tell me anything, because I can tell you whatever happened. You'd be like, you're not shocked. And this scene is almost like, it was literally like the equivalent of a post-credit scene, but it was just in the end of the movie. And it's Emilia Clarke's character. She takes over the crime family. She's locked into this crime syndicate, and she takes over for this Leighton Voss character, and she, her and Han were these long, lost lovers character types, and looks like she's gonna, he tries to save her and bring her back with him, but she says no, and she says no, she's gonna take over this crime, syndicate, and we see her talking to this, the real boss type figure, and the reveal is that it's Darth Maul. Now, to me, in the audience, that was an oh shit moment. Mm-hmm. But to 80% of the people in the audience would assume he was dead already, so it needed a little explanation. So if you hadn't read the comic books, watched cartoons, you wouldn't have thought even he was alive. And they even had to go as far, like they reveal, he's this hooded character as he's speaking, and then he takes the hood off, and he's got, he looks like Maul. But I think they were so nervous that people still wouldn't remember who it was or wouldn't put it together. They actually have him light up the two-sided lightsaber for no real reason. He doesn't use it on anybody. So he just used it as a threatening thing. So that was the big, reveal. That was the only big real spoiler reveal in the movie, is that they introduced Darth Maul, which I enjoyed because at least they took a chance in that they're linking the new canon together. They're linking the cartoons and movies. That's
how's it work timeline wise? Is this after he gets killed and get cut in half and
yes, yeah,
so long after that. Okay, so it's long after that.
Long after the Clone Wars. It's in this is 10 years before New Hope.
10 years before New Hope. Okay.
And in the cartoon,
so
it's still a small box.
No, so Luke is, by New Hope, Luke is 17, 18?
Yeah, so he's like...
So when we first see him in Phantom Menace, he's 7, right? Because Padme is like 16 at the time, and he's like 7 or 10. He's 10. I think he's like 10.
In Anakin.
He's Anakin. Sorry, Anakin. I mean, listen. I'm so confused by this. I'm so confused because I mean, if so, okay, this is Anakin we're talking about here. Is 10. So okay, I guess the timeline works out.
I mean, the timeline worked, but they still put themselves in a small box as far as time, because we even know they're introducing Maul, reintroducing Maul, but we know he died. He's dead as well, because he died in one of the last seasons of the Rebels cartoon.
Yeah, Rebels, yeah.
And he dies a couple of years before New Hope. I would say maybe a year or two.
When somehow Obi-Wan is still kind of young.
No, they made him look like Obi-Wan in that one.
Yeah.
For that cartoon.
Yeah. 10 years in the desert.
The Maul arc in the cartoons and some of the comics is great. He was almost, people who love him from his, Phantom Menace.
His problem is they shouldn't have killed him in Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
I mean, he should have been the villain throughout, right? There's no reason for them to introduce Dooku. And I like Count Dooku, right? But there's no reason to introduce him. It could have been Maul throughout the Grievous is fine. I'm fine introducing Grievous as well, but Grievous could be reporting into Darth Maul. There's no reason that Grievous had to report into Count Dooku. I mean, that was the biggest flaw. Well, not the biggest flaw. One of the flaws of that trilogy was you have this great character in Maul that we all wanted to see more of and we want to learn more of, and you cut him down literally in a great fight scene. It's still probably. It's my favorite lightsaber scene that appears in Star Wars. I think this last one was really great with Rey and Kylo in the throne room. Fantastic choreography, great kind of samurai type scene.
And did different things as far as what you can do with lightsabers, for the throwing and the stabbing in the face.
Yeah. But the Maul one with Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan in Phantom Menace, man. The choreography, that's so great. And the fact is that it slows it down, and he's stuck behind the force field, and he's kind of pacing like a tiger or some kind of jungle cat, and Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan are just kind of praying, essentially, on the other side. It's really good. So, I mean, I kind of felt that was a flaw on their end to kill Darth Maul. But yeah, he's reborn.
Reborn in this crime syndicate, crime underworld that it does tie into what kind of stories they told in the comics and cartoons. So it was exciting to see that. And this is Ron Howard, so he's not some fucking guy who knows any of this shit really anymore. So the idea that they didn't take the easy road of just making the figure, giving a Vader surprise or Emperor or even Jabba the Hutt. The fact that they even, tried to do something different and exciting with Maul gives me hope. But again, we don't know what we're getting here. And you talk about the prequels. The prequels were great in that the movies, you look back in the movies and they were just sludges as far as getting through, but they always left you with some excitement. Whether it be the fight scene you talked about at the end of 2, you had Yoda, taking out life. So there's always that excitement that made you leave the theater oh shit, that was fun. That was something crazy. And Solo had that same thing. Where it was the movie was really slow for the first 40, 45 minutes, but they had some great action at the end. and then we got the mall reveal. There's some fun stuff at the end that got you excited. But again, as I look back on the movie, it's it's came out. It's been 2 weeks. I've only you know me.
Yeah.
I've only seen it the one time.
Oh, really? You're
Yeah,
planning to see it
I
again?
was gonna go
Is
see it
it?
again. I didn't even like make the effort. So it's
Yeah.
like I usually have seen a Star Wars movie
Hmm.
2 or 3 times by now, and it's funny like Mike Ryan, who writes for Up Rocks and he writes some Star Wars stuff, wrote about a story about. There's nothing wrong with Solo. It's just that it doesn't give you much to talk about, really. It's
Hmm.
not like he wrote a whole story about how he's, this bartender friend of his. They sit, they always debate. They've been debating Last Jedi for God knows how long.
Hmm.
They always have, they get into these deep discussions. And they both went to go see Solo. I was like, oh, what do you think? Oh, it's all right. And I was like, all right. And that was kind of all it did. And that's kind of what this movie is. So people who hated it, I'm not seeing what they saw. It doesn't do anything really to the character. It's a very on the surface
I
movie.
I would have been happier if
Yeah.
Solo was the bad guy in this movie. Like
Yeah, and they did it.
if he was a true kind of like villain, and his character arc is by the end of it, it's like Lando that kind of turns him around, or like makes him less bad. Like if he was just like a truly bad guy, that by the end of it is just like it's like, oh, I think that would have been more
Yeah, they went.
interesting, and that probably would have added more to the legacy of the character, where he's skirting this being a hero, but almost in a way he's forced into it in those other movies, because he's trying to make up for past you know
Yeah, there was
crimes, or
very little focus for Solo, Solo the man in this movie,
mhm.
other than trying to get Emilia Clarke free from what he thought he left her for behind. And then once that was unattainable or whatever, it just like he just wants to be a scoundrel. And but even she tells him at one point, you're the good guy. You're supposed to be the good guy, and
Yeah,
that's
I don't know.
that's not what we
I don't
needed from
know.
Solo right now. We know he gets there.
He was a reluctant hero
Yeah.
in when we introduced to him, and I think
Yeah, so he shouldn't
him.
have been a rock his entire
No,
life. Something
no.
should have happened. I mean, in the end, he winds up and it's a stupid thing. Most of the movie is about hunting down this essentially what we consider oil at this point. It's an energy source, so that's what they're trying to steal or whatever it is. So it's not like any other. It's oldest fucking story. You're either stealing oil, you're stealing money, whatever. So he winds up giving what they stole to this, group of, rebels. So it's essentially
So
the
essentially,
start.
Spaceballs.
Yeah, it's essentially this. Yeah, it's essentially like It's one of the rebellion started as these small groups, all around the galaxy that finally came together. He winds up helping one of these small groups. So you could see he kind of helps build the rebellion with what he did. And they ask him like, you should come and help us. We need pilots. And he's like, no, I'm gonna that's not me, kid, or whatever the fuck. And he goes up before something happens to Woody Harrelson. I won't say completely what happens. He tells him about this job for this big gangster that's happening on Tatooine. So it's like, oh, that's where he leaves it, going to do that. So we know he's going to go meet Jabba, essentially. But again, I can't. I mean, I don't know how you sell another. You can't sell Solo 2. It just won't work.
Mhm.
You can sell, I think, a movie that includes this, that is set in this world, that has Maul as a crime syndicate figure. You have Jabba the Hutt as a crime. Essentially make an underworld crime syndicate movie
Mhm.
centered in this room, and have him in it. You can have him in it, but he can't be Solo 2. With all shit you can have.
Mhm.
So then, because they've talked about wanting to do a bounty hunter, Jabba the Hutt, not Boba
Hut
Fett.
Boba Fett. Yeah.
So you can have a Boba Fett movie in this world that includes all these characters somehow,
Mhm.
and that would be. I think you can get people excited about that. But I can't imagine they're gonna go, hey, there's Solo 2 coming in 20 whatever the fuck.
No, I don't know.
Because they wanted again, all this shit is up in the air, but they said they got James Mangold to do the Boba Fett movie. This guy that did Logan.
Yeah. I think did Logan. What else did he do?
They keep talking about the Obi-Wan movie that Ewan McGregor wants to do, and they always
Mhm.
say, "Oh, it's going to be planned, it's going to be done," but they just never get around to saying it. But everyone assumes it's going to happen. And even again, you can put a Darth Maul character in that movie as well, and do some things. Then there's the Offen Weiss, Game of Thrones guys who got their series of movies coming out. Ryan Johnson was still supposed to have his trilogy at some point. And then you have episode 9. So there's still as many as 7 to 9 movies on the schedule
Right.
at some point. So I don't know how you work in a Solo 2 that when Solo 1 didn't do very well. I mean, you can keep, I mean, some, you know, the original Wolverine movies didn't do very well. They kept making them and they finally got a good one.
Mm-hmm.
So you can go that route. And again, this isn't a movie either where, you know, they keep making those, Transformers or Fast Furious movies that don't do as well here anymore, but make big money in China. That's not going to be the case here.
Right. No.
You know, if they just want to keep doing them to do them, you know, they can.
Mm-hmm.
It can be just their one movie they take a loss on. But at some point, you know, you got to give the fans what they want, and that just study, you know, all the talk going into it, and then all the results have shown that they did not want this movie.
So which one is James Mangold doing? He said he's doing a.
He's doing, you know, reportedly.
Which one? I'm sorry.
The Boba Fett.
Boba Fett. Oh, maybe. I mean, I just checked his credits. I was trying to remember what he did. He did Copland. With
So I'm saying you put
Stallone De Niro. So you kind of do it more of a noirish kind of crime focus.
And he works into Solo's backstory because we know Solo's scared of him.
Mm-hmm.
When they, you know, he sees him and he got freaked out. So you know, there's something to that.
Yeah.
So if you
we've already seen the origin story of Boba Fett and it sucks.
I think what you should do
sucks
is have someone just kill that kid
and take his armor.
Take the armor.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we've never seen him.
Right.
Have you ever seen the picture of the real Boba Fett from that movie?
Yeah.
He's like the nerdiest fucking guy you ever seen. So yeah, there's exciting things you can do from what they've shown they, you know, could do with this movie, but I don't know if they'll panic with this one now and just say, oh, here's a Vader movie. That'll make money, you know. So we'll see. Like I said, for me not to be excited about a Star Wars movie is a pretty sad thing, I must say. But again, to read where we started, the idea that this is now, you know, Star Wars is in trouble. Tickets went on sale today for Star Wars Celebration in Chicago next April, and it's sold out within a couple hours. So
yeah, it's not going.
And as soon as you open that Star Wars land out in fucking, you know, Disneyland, it's gonna they'll just print. They'll print their own money. Yeah. They're fine. They can afford to take a loss. I just didn't think they'd take it this early and on this odd a scale where it's, you know, beloved character, and they just couldn't. It was clearly doomed from the start, honestly. And they just never promoted right. People still didn't know what the hell was going on, and it showed.
There we go. We're at the top of the hour, so let's close out another episode of Movie Stuff Show. Please make sure to like this video, subscribe to us here on YouTube, follow us on Facebook and on Twitter and on Instagram at Movie Stuff Show. Barney will probably put some videos somewhere.
Well, we have a Star Wars playlist at this point.
Yeah, probably.
And then we'll put up I always put up our pills video because that's what's paying the bills here.
Abe messaged me saying that he's got new internet, so maybe we'll have Abe call in one of these days, and we'll have Abe on the show. Now
I do miss Abe.
I miss Abe too. Miss everyone. I miss Jamil. I miss Amanda. I haven't talked to Amanda in ages.
Yeah, we never learned how Scotland went.
Yeah.
Well,
Leah hasn't done the show.
Well, we have the Ocean's 8 coming out this weekend, so we can get our get the women.
Yep.
Have our women's show. We've always been planning on having.
Yep. I'll sit back. I'll press play. I'll say, all right, you guys talk. Text me when you're about to end. I'll come back down. I'll turn it off and say good night, everyone.
Oh, there.
That's all you're saying. Invite me. Okay. There you go.
There you go.
All right. Good night, everyone. See ya. Bye.